Welcome to the Purple Jaguar. This is your host, my new nickname that I've given myself, Papa J. Now, it's been a little bit since we've talked last, but the NBA playoffs have started, and now we are seeing what teams really are and have the potential to be. And there is some interest garnered by some of the series, but some of them are kind of dull. The Miami Heat took Game 1 against the Bucks, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think that's how you say it. You know what I'm talking about. The Greek Freak injured his back and sat out the second game, where the Bucks decided that they were going to open up a can of you-know-what and dish it out to the Miami Heat. Same thing happened with the Lakers. And it really goes to say that NBA players are all professionals. Let's give these guys their due. At this point in time, we are gathering our NBA talent from the entire globe. So every player that's in the NBA is good at basketball. And most of the time when it comes to a 7-game series, it's going to be who gives the most energy, who gives the most effort. Now, this is going to make the difference in a few games. Eventually, the stars will come out to play, and they will take over the games, and they will dominate, and they will be able to, in the last seconds, hit that shot or push the team over the top in the middle of a game. But for a game or two, we can't slack on reserves. We can't slack on backups because we just seen the Lakers lose to the Memphis Grizzlies and the Miami Heat lose to the Bucks. Now, the Miami Heat do have an excuse because Tyler Hero is out, and he's one of their premier scorers. But the series is going to end up going the way we thought it would, with a little bit of extra flair to it. In other news, Jalen Hurts has received a new contract. He is now the highest paid player in the NFL. That's not saying much because next week there will be a new highest paid player in the NFL. It's kind of as you sign new contracts, as inflation grows, so does your contract, which means you're going to be the highest paid player. Now, this works it benefits the Eagles as much as Jalen Hurts. But really what it shines a light on is what issue is going on in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. If Jalen Hurts is signing a contract after being good for 1 year, respectively, dominant in some sense, but not a large sample size, and he's getting a contract worth $255 million with 137 guaranteed. 137 million, that is, over 5 years. I wonder, now, sources haven't came out on it, but I wonder what the contract looked like that they put in front of Lamar. And I wonder if Lamar might be shooting himself in the foot at this point in time. Because last I checked, a millionaire is still a millionaire, and a 100 millionaire is still a 100 millionaire. And so if we're getting bent out of shape over, I don't know, 20 million, 30 million, when it's over 100 million in guaranteed money, I think that's going to start looking bad about you and what you want. Aaron Rodgers took the most money, and Aaron Rodgers is about to leave the Packers. They have no desire to keep Aaron Rodgers. And you're really starting to see the true colors of these players, especially with social media, the amount of podcasts like this one, or broadcasters that are covering these players. You're starting to see their real personalities and what they really value as far as being a competitor or going after the money or getting along with the organization. Last I checked, you don't have to like your boss, but you do have to respect your boss. And it seems like this new generation of, for all purposes, sports players, because it happens in the NBA. MLB is not as bad, but they don't really have a salary cap, and they can just pay these guys whatever. But in the MLB, or in the NBA and in the NFL, you're starting to see some of these younger kids really show their ego for, I don't want to use the other word, but their ego. And it's going to bite them in the, you know what, later. Because if you're not willing to play ball and you're already being unorthodox by not having an agent that's an official NFL agent handle this kind of stuff, and you're wanting to get paid more than other quarterbacks that could arguably be better than you with less of an injury history, I think it's you. I think it's you. And as a sports fan, I could get up in arms about the fact that these guys are making millions and millions of dollars and they're greedy and needy and very much showing the bad side of them. Or I could say, why don't you look up to mentors, look up to who's the best in the league? Right now, Patrick Mahomes is by far, hands down, resume stamped, the best quarterback in the league. And he took a team-friendly deal. He will be, by probably the end of this offseason, the seventh highest paid quarterback in the league. So there will be 6 other quarterbacks in the league that make more money per year than Patrick Mahomes. Now, he has endorsements, he has investments, he has things that he does to make his money on the side, as they all do. But he understood very quickly, I can take a little bit of less money because I want to win. And that's a player I can get behind. That's a player's jersey I'm going to buy. That's a player that I'm going to watch and follow. This player is more about the team and the success of the team than his own bank account. And when you start seeing quarterbacks who are supposed to be the leaders of the team be at the negotiation table for far too long, start to sour relationships, I don't know how you rebound from this. Even if Baltimore said, okay, Lamar, we're going to pay you whatever you want, what is his teammates going to feel about him next year? What is the guys that aren't going to be there because they don't have enough money to pay them now because they paid Lamar all the money that he thought he was owed? And then their roster is then gutted because there is a salary cap in the NFL. I don't know. I know I wouldn't. Being a former sports player back in high school, I wouldn't want to play with a guy like that. Anytime you got a guy in your team that has an ego that seems like it's bigger than the team, it makes for a toxic work environment. Because football, basketball, baseball, it's only fun when you're on TV or you're in the games. But the majority of the time, you're at training camp. Or you're doing two-a-days in the summer. Or you're at practice. That's where you're going to be at. And what is the locker room going to be like on those days? When the lights aren't shining, when the cameras aren't on, when nobody's in your face, when you're not expected to act in a certain manner. What isn't there going to be a bad taste in the teammate's mouth? Like, yo, bro, like all this drama that you brought to this team, dude, your mom is your agent, which can't even really be an agent because she's not certified by the NFL to be his agent. So therefore, Lamar is only speaking on his behalf. I've heard this said, and I'm sure you've heard it said in other places. Why don't football players worry about playing football? And that's why you have a good team around you. You hire an agent. You get some mentors to talk some sense into you. And you reflect on yourself. I think that this is a pandemic, for lack of a better term, that's going on in the sports world. We see this with NBA players. Something that I want to know, I don't know who's talking about this, but has anybody noticed that Anthony Davis is now playing his butt off? I wonder if anybody else watching the NBA has noticed this switch all of a sudden. Could it be that it might be time to start getting paid again, and all of a sudden he's more motivated than we've ever seen him? Interesting. Isn't it funny that the players that were good, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, are still good? And then the newer talent is kind of a revolving door of, do we need them? Do they make our team better? Are they about the team? Are they about themselves? We have the Ja Morant situation. And what happened with him waving a weapon on social media. And then in the 2 playoff games that have happened now for the Memphis Grizzlies, one, Ja Morant played, and they got blown out. The second one, he didn't play, and they played fundamentally sound, efficient basketball with effort, energy, and the ball kept moving. Now, that's not to say that Ja Morant ain't a spectacular player, much like Russell Westbrook. Very good player. No one's denying that. Trae Young, throw him in there. But does he make the team as a whole better? Or is he more about himself? That's going to come out one way or another, whether it's in the interviews, in the off season, or on the court, or field, for that matter. But you can only hide your true colors for so long. And unfortunately, we're coming into an era in sports where the player is more about themselves than the team. Now, hopefully, this is not a trend that will continue, because there will always be somebody to be unselfish. There will always be a Patrick Mahomes to rise up, a Steph Curry to rise up and make it a team first thing. And then guess what's going to happen? Every time, they will dominate, because it's not about them. It's about the team as a whole. And the team as a whole is about winning, not about how much money you make. Because I'll tell you a secret. The more you win, the more money that's going to come in. I know, mind-blowing. So it's almost like if you stop chasing the money and start worrying about the team, the money will come. Now, this is not a topic that actually transitions over to what I'm about to talk about. And that is, we are in the end of an era. Now, I don't know how closely you pay attention to running backs in the NFL. There is a few big names. Jonathan Taylor for a few years with Indianapolis. Derrick Henry, King Henry's been a big name for a while. You had Adrian Peterson before that. You have Christian McCaffrey now, who's semi-big name. You got Alvin Kamara, who was a big name. I don't know what happened to him. You had Ezekiel Elliott, or Zeke. Running backs are not going to get paid anymore. It's unfortunate. They're not going to get that second contract unless they can find another way to bring nuance to the NFL and add value that can be done prolonged. We are becoming a pass-happy league. The officiating, the rules are all to support a healthy quarterback throwing to receivers that aren't getting their heads taken off. And unfortunately, in our day in society, that is more interesting than handing the ball off 30 times a game. So, the running back is becoming less and less valued. This is hard to swallow when you're a running back that's been in the league. Saquon Barkley is having an issue right now with the Giants. The Giants just paid Daniel Jones. I won't get into that. Not a good thing to do. But they are not able or willing to pay Saquon Barkley. They will franchise tag him, and we'll see if he plays on that. But I guess you don't have to. Do you get paid if you don't play on the franchise? I don't think you get paid. I don't know where these people came from, but some money's better than no money. That's all I'm saying. I mean, and we're talking like, I think 2 or 3 million. Because the thing about it is, teams cannot afford to pay a running back unless they are the most nuanced running back you can imagine. So a Christian McCaffrey would fit into this. Now he has some injury issues, but he's catching the ball out of the backfield. He can block out of the backfield. He can run the ball. He's dynamic. He's a game breaker. He has finesse moves, game-changing speed. If you hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey, he could go for 6 in any given moment. Kind of like the Tyreek Hill of running backs, if you will. He has that explosiveness. But that's your top 1% of running backs in the NFL, okay? The Kansas City Chiefs, who is my favorite team, I always say this, so I know more about them, inevitably. They drafted a running back out of LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, in the first round. And in 2 years, he is now the backup to a 7th round draft pick out of Rutgers. Why? 7th rounder had more pop. Added something new. A little bit more attitude to the offense. So a first rounder getting paid first round money is now backing up a 7th rounder getting paid 7th round money. And you know who cares? No one. Because football is a business. And in this business, it is wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, O-line, then the running back. Because as we've seen, if you have a good O-line, an average running back will do well. And a lot of times, what happens in these leagues is when a team does something and it doesn't work, other executives take notice. So, if so facto, Ezekiel Elliott gets a big-time deal for the Cowboys. Jerry Jones loves him, the owner, and they pay Zeke. Zeke shows up to minicamp out of shape, overweight. He is no longer the back that he used to be and can't touch the back that he used to be. And in fact, they are moving off of Zeke now. Now, that speaks more, in my opinion, to Ezekiel Elliott's character as far as his drive. I mean, we talk about this in fighting. It's a lot harder to get out of bed and run when you got silk shorts on, when you got nice bed sheets, when you're living in your mansion, because you've already grinded to get to that point, and now you've made your money. So that's why a lot of fighters, after they've gotten the bag or had a couple good purses or big purses, they kind of start to wane. That desire, that drive, that hunger starts to kind of like quell a little bit. Now, that would be sad to say that about running backs, because now what has been set for a precedent for running backs is we're not paying you. We're not giving you another contract extension. You might get one. And then it's not going to touch what a wide receiver's making, because we're paying wide receivers now $25, $28 million a year. We're not paying a running back that. Especially when nowadays, most of the time, we have 2 or 3 that's going to touch the ball at some point in time in the game, because each one needs a break or whatever. I don't really understand it. I don't know what happened to the durability of running backs, but now we have to have 3 or 4 touching the ball. That's why I can't freaking put together a fantasy team, because every time I do, that running back somehow doesn't play that much and the other one gets more touches. I hate running backs and I don't like starting them. I never, ever, 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 ever play high-value running backs. I don't value them in the picks. I don't care. The only one that actually produces any kind of like he should is Austin Eckler, and he's also not going to be with the team. They told him to go seek a trade. So I think the era of running backs is over. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry. Tell your kids that if they want to play sports and if they want to aspire to be in the NFL, don't play running back. It's not a good position. You get hit more, especially in high school and pee-wee, where they don't know how to throw the ball yet, so they're going to hand it off to you. And then when you finally do make it, if you do, to the NFL, you're going to get one contract. You're going to be in the league for maybe 6-7 years. That's a long tenure with the NFL as a running back. So it's unfortunate, but as times change, the most important pieces in a game will change. There will always be nuance. No one ever thought that tight ends would be going for 1,000 yards in consecutive seasons, getting over 100 catches. But times have changed. And that's the way it is now. When you adapt you can overcome. But if you refuse to adapt, then you get left behind. And so back to the point at hand. When you're looking to make money, make sure that you have a product that's worth the money you're asking. And you have a track record and resume that can back it up. And I would use the professionals to make sure it happens. So, thank you for checking out the podcast. That'll be all for today. Stay blessed and have a good week.